Well, it's time now for the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. And once again, second time this season, we have a special guest in Tim Beebe, the Laingsburg boys basketball coach. And I'll just start it off here to begin with. You're still unbeaten, but what do you think of the atmosphere at Jackson Lumen Christie in that domed gym?
Yeah, it was great. It was packed. I was a little worried that our fans weren't going to have a place to sit in case the fans from the earlier game, but they did a nice job of clearing out for them. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like the floors, fairly new, it looks like, and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
then the surroundings have all that nostalgia. I actually we won a regional there in 1986 when I was a
Mm.
junior. So at Hazlitt. So yeah, we didn't play Lumen, but we played there, and so looked a little different from that's the first time I'd been in there since then. So
Yeah, I mean they put up a few more banners since that time. I mean 54 state championship banners and 27 runner-ups. We thought, we followed in Michigan, New Lothrop, you pull into 29 championship drive, but you see those banners around that dome, man, it's incredible.
oh my gosh, yeah, all over. So that's a cool facility. People were kind of asking why are they playing there, and I was just like, we'll wait and see. But I get it. It's really nice.
Can you talk about it? It doesn't happen very often, especially when you get this deep into the playoffs where the host school is actually playing at their own gym, and that's who you guys play, Lumen Christie, in their gym. Do you think that's going to be an added challenge, or is it kind of just another game that you're preparing for?
I think it just, I mean, we've played a lot of games on the road this year, and I think, yeah, they have, I guess, the home court advantage, if you want to call it that, and they'll have a lot of fans. But we travel pretty well. We'll fill it up ourselves. So I don't think it's that big of an advantage. I don't want to, I don't want our kids to feel that way. PW is doing the same thing. They're hosting the regional, and they're in that. Congrats to them as well. By the way, that was a big win by PW. So we're hoping we both represent the CMAC tonight.
One of the big stories with your guys' team has been Xander Woodruff. I mean, Laingsburg's all-time leading scorer. What can you tell us about his game, and how do you see him, not only in tonight's game, but however far you guys make it, his leadership and his ability to basically score 30 on any given night? What can you tell us about his game and how important he'll be down the stretch?
Well, obviously, a kid averaging over 30 a game is really important to you. But since the tournament started, he's picked up his defense quite a bit. He's playing, more at both ends, which we've been trying to get him to do. And I get it. He plays, sometimes 32 minutes a game, so he needs breaks but he's risen up to the challenge. I thought against Stockbridge, he wanted to guard their best guard, and he did a good job. I think we ended up holding him to 3 points. So, that was really a big deal. He's really been, dishing the ball off well, finding his teammates. And, we've been just trying to tell him, Xander, you do a lot more than just score the ball. I mean, he does that really well, but we just like him to realize that there's a lot of other things that he can showcase even more so. And he's done that. He's taken it to the next level with, penetrating and dump offs or kickouts and stuff. So, yeah, he's obviously really important, but I feel like we've proven that, if teams take him away a little bit and he doesn't get his 30, we can still be successful. So,
well, they talk about it a lot deep in college football, let's say basketball, pro football. As you get a little experience, the game slows down, and that seems like just watching Xander play on Monday or Tuesday night. He just seemed to be so in control, not in a rush, And by the way, I got to throw this out here. I talked about it in the game. How on earth do you not be at least on the Mr. Basketball ballot, averaging 30 points a game? You got to be kidding me.
yeah, I found that it's kind of mind-boggling. I mean, it just is, and it's not. I mean, we're the last undefeated team in the whole state of Michigan, so it's not like he's on a team that's not very good. It's pretty weird. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it. I try not to talk about it too much because it does bother me. It gets me a little worked up, and I'm gonna fight for my player.
Absolutely.
But you know what? It's just a lot of things are political, and where you go to school, and we don't have all the bells and whistles on our school district that some of these schools do. So you just have to, I guess, play more with a chip on your shoulder. I think that's what he does. He uses that to motivate him. But somebody's going to get lucky, and they're going to get him. They're going to take a chance on him in college, and they're going to benefit. a lot because there's very few people that can score the ball the way he can. He shoots a 10-foot pull up, and I know it's in before it leaves his hand most of the time. It's just he's just that good. So, you can't get too wrapped up in those things. But yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling, to be honest with you.
One game that really
we all
kinda,
know that. Sorry, Jared, not to cut you off. We all know that he'd be on our Mr. Ballot or Mr. Basketball,
Absolutely.
our Mr. Basketball ballot, the 3 Point Podcast, Mr. Basketball ballot. He'd be on there for sure.
He'd be the winner.
He'd probably be the winner. You're right. But in that vein, so he's obviously the star. I mean, there's no hiding it. He's the superstar of your team. He's the leader. He's the guy that carries the load for your team. But you have to make sure that the other guys are prepared, right? Because if a team, say they run a box and one and they really try to limit Xander, or like the other night, Mason struck with Chesaning, your guys' opponent, he fouled out. You hope something like that doesn't happen, but say something like that happens, you have to make sure your other players are ready to step up, because you guys are at the point now where, I mean, the state championship is your goal. So how do you kind of balance? Yes, Xander is your star, he's a superstar, but we've got to make sure the other guys on the court are ready to play. Like you said, when he kicks it out for a three or when he dumps it off, these other guys are ready for their moment.
Well, it's been a process. We've talked about it all year about, making sure that, everybody understands their role, and some guys are shooters and only, shooters in defense. They do that. Other guys are, their job is to just take care of the ball, or to rebound and run the floor in transition. So everybody's, they know what their role is, and they've done a good job. I think Xander's, he's done a nice job with Mitchell George. Mitchell George is the one kid that didn't play last year on our varsity. He's a junior this year, and he's one of our starters. And he's done a really good job of getting Mitchell involved, and nice dump off passes and stuff. And Mitchell's actually been our leading scorer the last, for probably the last 6 or 7 games in terms of average. But we have other guys that are seniors that have been through it. Ty Randall, he came over before the Stockbridge game and said, "I'm ready," and he was. I knew he was going to have a good game, and he ended up having 21.
Yeah.
So he's a gamer, and Cam Ballard can knock down the three when he gets it, and Cam's always been our guy who guards the other team's best guard. So I think everybody kind of relishes in their role that they have. It's taken a while, but they all have realized, like, we're not all going to score 30 a game, but we're ready to score if we can, but we're not going to force stuff and, try to do things we're not capable of. So that's been part of the success of this team, I think.
Big game tonight, obviously. Should be one hell of a crowd. What's kind of your quick little spark notes, maybe not game plan, but scouting report of Lumen Christie, and what are you guys going to have to do tonight to get the win?
Well, they kind of play two teams. He starts one group, and then he brings in a second group of more athletic kids that, get after you and pressure the ball. And I think that's going to be probably our number one bullet point is, take care of the ball security, because they like to get up in you and pressure you. And, we were a little loose with it on Tuesday. We had 17 turnovers in that game, and that's way too many. I told them when we played Freeland, one of the reasons we were able to beat them is we only had 2 turnovers in the whole game.
Wow.
So, that's going to be a big thing. I think also, limiting number one for them is a really, really good shooter, the coach's son. We have to pick him up when he crosses half court, basically. And so, we've got guys that can do that. And then it's just a matter of they have other guys who are really good at certain things, but maybe not so good at other things. So, like, guys that like to go to their left, we got to not let them go there. They're a really physical team, good rebounding team. So we got to make sure we at least neutralize the glass and, just do what we do. Basically, we don't want to get too much into, worrying about what they do. We always have to focus on us. And that's what we've done all year. So that's what we're going to continue to do. But they're very good. They're definitely the best team we've seen this year, I think.
Yeah.
Watching you guys the other night against Chesaning, obviously, and you talked about it in the press, and it was pretty obvious watching it that your experience really paid off in that game. The quick start that you had, the press that you put on them really kind of gave you some momentum. How important is it to get a quick jump in a game and not be fighting back?
Yeah, that's really important. Those first 4 minutes are going to be crucial, I think. And we'll talk about it. We don't want to stress them out and make them feel like, if it doesn't go that way, the game's over. You got to
Mhm.
also think about that side of it. But we definitely want to get off to a good start and, make sure that, like you said, don't dig yourselves a hole. I think that'll be big. That was, getting out 11-0 on Chesney was really important for that game, I think. And part of that is I think they, our guys had been there before, so I think that really helped. It won't be quite as much of a factor tonight, but it still might. We made it to the quarters last year, so we've won a regional title, and I'm hoping that that experience will pay off for us a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to think that you guys were in this position last year and right back to it this year. When you were talking about Lumen Christi's scouting report, basically, I wanted to ask, kind of what your process is, because I'm thinking back to my senior year, we made a little bit of a run, and I remember not knowing who your opponent's going to be and thinking about how do the coaches, get those scouting reports and find the video and all that kind of stuff. Can you just talk about quickly, like what your guys' process is the night you win, you find out who your next opponent is going to be, and it's like, we got to quick put together a scouting report and get this information to our kids and then get prepared for the next game?
Yeah, it gets easier as the season goes on, because sometimes, when you play somebody, you play them a second time, so you've got stuff on them. But and then you get later in the year, you start looking at, okay, here comes the tournament, and we've had people go out and film for us. We get games off of NFHS, and of course you get film from other coaches too. So we've had film on a lot of these teams, and we've been kind of doing some prep work, on the side here and there periodically. Of course, not wanting to lose focus on the opponent in front of us, but
right.
We've done a lot of that. And so what we do is we give the kids a lot of stuff. We give them, their tendencies, their personnel descriptions, their matchups. We give them shot charts of all the games we've had. We shot chart every kid for them and give them individual shot charts as well, so that, they can kind of see where they like to shoot from, where they like to, what they like to do. So we provide them with a lot of information, and then, the kids just, credit goes to them. Our kids watch a lot of film on their own. We don't really watch film as a team. They watch it on their own. We'll send them clips and things, but our kids are really students of the game, and that's been a big thing with this senior class especially. They've really taken it to a new level in terms of, they'll tell us things when we're going through a scouting report that they've already watched on their own. So, a lot of the success we've had in preparing for teams is because of them. So.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that's a generational thing here. That's changed a
yeah.
lot since I played. I mean,
Right.
You talk about reviewing film, man. Our coach would just say, hey, go out there and play. That was it. Do your best, boys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Tim, we really appreciate you taking time out here, especially on game day. It's amazing. We're glad that you took the time. We wish you the best of luck. Have a deep tournament run. Hope to see you at the Breslin, but one game at a time. We'll not look past Lumen Christi, because it's going to be a nice one tonight. It's going to be a good game. Good luck to you.
Thanks. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you having me on. And all I can say, tonight's going to be a tough one, but hopefully we'll be ready, and looking forward to it. Looking forward to the atmosphere. It's what March Madness is all about. So go Pack.
Amen. All right. We'll talk with you down the road. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcasts, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
All right, good stuff there with Laingsburg coach Tim Beebe. That was a good conversation, boys. That some good stuff going into the Lumen Christi game. You might be listening to this podcast afterwards, but we were able to get him here Thursday morning, and appreciate him joining us.
Yeah, especially because, he is a teacher. So,
Right.
You think about, we're recording basically at 9:00 Thursday morning, so he's able to step away. He said he has a really good student teacher that can kind of take things over. But yeah, you got to think that I just remember thinking the morning of these games, you just have no idea what to expect. It's kind of like, yes, it is another game, but it's like we're playing to move on in March Madness for a chance to go for a state championship, and it's just kind of a crazy feeling to be at school, going about your day, knowing that tonight you're playing, a really good opponent and Lumen Christi. And you were talking about before we started recording to that gym. I mean, the pictures that you sent that we did post on our social media pages, that gym looked super cool. And Tim was talking about the environment, and that's one that I feel like it would just be awesome to go to any game at that gym just to check it out.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's rare, but that's one of the few gyms in the state I hadn't been to yet. So it was cool walking in there and just kind of picking up on the vibe. It was fun.
You said 54 state championships, or
54 state championship banners and 27 state runner-ups hanging around the rafters. I mean, it surrounds the whole dome.
Well, how many state titles has Herb Brogan, their football coach, won? What, like 15 or something at this point? It's like
double digits.
A one-man wrecking crew.
I know, no doubt about it. Quite a program they have there for sure. And by the way, one more generational thing, a little bit different bells in the school than when I was in school. I was wondering if that was a fire alarm or something.
Right.
It wasn't our podcast.
Right.
At one point when I was in school, we had lights as our bells.
Oh,
really? So we didn't have a bell. It was just a light going off. Is what signaled when you were supposed to change classes. So I noticed that as well. It's like a nice, friendly alarm clock sound in Hazlitt schools. I appreciated it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Again, this is a little sidetrack from Prep Spotlight, but it makes sense because during the interview, some bells were going off. My daughter, she's 8 years old, second grade.
Right.
She asked me one time, why are they called bells? Because she was thinking of a bell, jingle, jingle,
Ring,
jingle,
ring.
Bell. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, when they say bell, it sounds more like a horn. And it was just one of those things
True.
I'm
You're
not
right,
sure
Claire.
why they haven't changed the name of it, but it was a bell because it literally used to be a bell ringing.
Right.
It's just kind of funny.
Yep. Today's day and age. Well, we'll zip through the rest of this prep spotlight. Again, we want to thank Jacobs Insurance Agency. We talked about the game, Laingsburg down to Chesaning, the battle of the unbeaten, 63-52. Xander put up 32. Mason Struck had 13 for Chesaning before fouling out at the tail end of the third quarter. Nate Ferry had 10. Also in other games, Lumen Christi picked up a big win over Hanover Horton. Their star player, Kason Burgess, had 21. Laingsburg's going to have to deal with him tonight. Game over in Corunna. Big matchup in the state, really. Arthur Hill and Saginaw went at it one final time, and Arthur Hill picked up the 57-42 victory, and they move on in the tournament to take on Flint Powers tonight. So quite an atmosphere in the Corunna gym. You don't see it completely packed. I mean,
Standing room only. I mean, it was standing room only at the Corunna High School
exactly.
gym.
Let's just say I never quite played in front of crowds like that.
Yeah, me neither.
That's pretty crazy. No, I mean, we were texting about it. I saw that it's sold out. You said within an hour or two.
Within an hour.
Said it's sold out. I mean, like I said, it's standing room only. It was packed floor to ceiling in those bleachers. Super cool environment. I didn't realize that it is, always hear it's the oldest rivalry in the state. It is literally the oldest basketball rivalry in the state, like 114 years.
Amazing.
They've been playing basketball, and now the schools are merging. So now those players will actually be teammates.
Yep.
So just kind of a crazy story, but it almost made me laugh that the game was at Corunna. Like when I saw that they were playing and then it was at Corunna, I was just like, of course it is. Of course.
It was random, man, but it was cool to see. I didn't really care about the actual game, but I tuned in to watch it for 5-10 minutes just to see what the gym looked like in an environment like that. That's something you dreamed about when you were a kid, but yeah, our team sucks, so never quite had that crowd full. I'm gonna get my soapbox for a minute.
Yeah.
So this rivalry is a big deal.
Is this something you forgot about last week?
No. This is playing off of this rivalry, dude. Quick side note: I never listened to our pods back. I just was like, I'm gonna listen to this week's episode. Dude, I sound like an idiot. I literally sounded like I was drunk last week, so I apologize for that. So anyway, Arthur Hill versus Saginaw High. I live in the Detroit area now, and here's what I've realized living in this area. And I mean, we see it at Ford Field every year. It's usually Detroit schools there. It's if it's not in this Metro Detroit area, people down here do not care about some of these other big games. It's dude, back in Michigan's heyday when the car dealership, or not dealerships, but the car plants were up and running and everything, Saginaw was producing the best talent in the state. I mean, dude, look at there's been 10, 12 NBA players come out of that rivalry. I mean, Draymond Green, future Hall of Famer, the Los Angeles Lakers head basketball coach right now, is played in that rivalry.
Yeah.
Jason Richardson. I mean, the list goes on and on. So people need to put some respect on Saginaw hoops, and then, I mean, even Flint hoops.
Flint,
as
for
an
sure.
extension of that.
Yeah. Good call on that, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, both Saginaw and Flint in the heyday were as good as any area of the state. It's like, we talk about West Michigan in football. I mean, Flint and Saginaw produced so many great players. It's just amazing.
The best player in the state, Trey McKinney, who plays for Orchard Lake St. Mary's, is a Flint kid. Just, I mean, we know how Flint's kind of maybe not what it once was. It just doesn't make sense for him to go to school there. So, I mean, Flint, even with everything being said and done, it's still producing some pretty high-level talent.
Absolutely. Finishing off on boys basketball, I don't know if you guys caught the score. Pewamo, Westphalia down North Muskegon 43-40 in overtime. Cash Pole hit a three-pointer at the buzzer. I saw our friend Jason Hutton posted on Twitter. You could tell he was a little disgusted. I think it's because of his following North Muskegon a little bit, but I guess there was some stall ball played at the end of that game that he wasn't too happy with.
Yeah.
Love Jason. I've always been of this belief. And here's what's funny is, I was kind of in a similar situation in the Freeland versus Saginaw Arthur Hill game last Friday, where it was a great game. Freeland was leading, running a 2-3 zone.
Right.
And Arthur Hill went up by like 5-6 points, and they went into delay. And it forced Freeland basically to come out and start pressuring them. And now you're playing Arthur Hill's game. Listen, what was it? Basically, PW held the ball for the final 2 minutes of regulation and the final like 1:30 of overtime. Go out and defend them. Nobody's telling you to sit back in your zone. Like, that's almost like the coward's way out. So I don't have any sympathy for them.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's a topic for in high school basketball that will get me fired up too, is the delay offense. Now, I say that if your dad Jared is listening to this, who was my coach, we ran the delay a lot. And we ran it.
You guys, you're probably out in regionals. You're out in districts, man.
Yep. I mean, we did it quite a bit when we needed to. So it's not a criticism in that sense. But it goes both ways. Yes. If you don't like getting delayed, go pressure the ball and force the team not to delay. I don't know. It's I don't really like it. I'd rather see the kids play. I understand the strategy. If a team's not going to come get you and you've got a lead, let's just hold the ball and run the clock out.
Yeah. And without a shot clock, it's never going to go away. Right. And, I don't know when we'll ever see a shot clock in high school. So you just got to deal with it. And like you said, got to go out there and D up. In girls basketball, Durand down to Wasso, ending their season 46-29. It was Corunna over Kersley, a big win for the Cavaliers. Emily Reichert had 13. Laingsburg over Perry in girls basketball, 34-25. In wrestling, Ovid-Elsie's Talon Parsons and New Lothrop's Colton Simons won wrestling state championships at Ford Field, and Perry's Cameron Duty took home the silver medal. And this usually isn't the area we talk about, but I came across this. I got to throw it out there. Flint Kersley, they took home the D2 state championship in both boys and girls bowling. That's kind of rare. So congratulations to the Hornets, bowling awesome. State championships. All right, guys, that's our prep spotlight presented again by Jacobs Insurance. We'll get to some sports potpourri right after this.